أبنائي وبناتي طلبة وطالبات الصف الأول الثانوي لغات، أهلا وسهلا بكم. النهاردة إن شاء الله هنبدأ أول درس An Introduction in Complex Numbers. أولا احنا خدنا بعض الأشياء في سنة تالتة إعدادي تساعدنا على فهم الموضوع. فاحنا هنبدأ مثلا لو أنا كان عندي equation مثلا زي x power 2 is equal to 9. How to solve it? You will say we will take the square root for both sides. Then it will be x is equal to positive or negative root 9. Square root 9. Then x is equal to positive or negative 3. But if you have x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. How to solve it? You will move this one to the other side. Then x squared, it will be negative 9. Now, are you have any real number? You multiply it by itself to get negative 9? I think no. There is no real number. If you multiply it by itself, you will get negative 9. Maybe one of you say negative 3 times 3. Negative 3 times 3 or 3 times negative 3. They are not the same. أنا عندي هنا two numbers مش زي بعض، وبالتالي يا أولاد يبقى لو أنا خدت السكوير روت هنا x squared for positive or negative، أنا خدت السكوير روت اللي هنا للx يبقى أنا عندي هنا x. There is no any real number you will multiply it by itself. They are not the same. Then this is wrong and this is wrong. Then now there is no real number, no real number. Satisfy this equation. Then how to solve this problem? Then there is this square root. If you gonna to find it here like this one, you will write here x, it will be positive or negative root square negative 9. But I have a problem here for negative. Then it will be square root positive or negative square root negative 1 times 9. But square root 9 is 3, positive or negative 3. But what about square root of negative 1? There is no real number. Satisfy this one. Then we will replace it by imaginary part. Then if the number doesn't exist in reality, then it is exists in opposite to reality, which imaginary part, imaginary numbers here. Then we will put negative 1 is equal to I power 2, I squared. Then we will put I squared is equal to what? Negative 1. Why? To get its square root. Here, if you have positive or negative 3 root I squared will be I. Then the solution here, positive or negative 3I. But what is this number? This number is not lying on the reality. Then we will call a new set which is called the complex numbers. Depends on what? The imaginary numbers here, or the imaginary part, which is what? Which is I squared, it will be negative 1. Then I squared is equal negative 1. But what about I to the power 3? I to the power 3, I is equal to I. Then I squared is equal negative 1. But I cubed, it will be I squared times I. Then it will be negative 1 times I. It will be negative I. And I to the power 4, you can write it I to the power 2 times I to the power 2. Then it will be negative 1 times negative 1, which is what? Which is positive 1. Now you can abbreviate or simplify this, writing in I is equal to I. and I to the power 2 is equal negative 1, and I power 3 is equal to negative I, and I to the power 4 it is equal to 1. If you're gonna to move after 4, it will be I to the power 5. I to the power 5 will be 1 plus 4, 5. Then it will be I times I. It will be I. This is the same value here. And I to the power 6, it will be 2 plus 4. Here, 2 plus 4, it will be 6. Then it will be negative 1 times 1, it will be negative 1. The same value here. Look, it is the same value. And I to the power 7, it will be I to the power 3 plus 4, 7. Negative I times 1, it will be negative I. The same value like this. And I to the power 8, it will be I to the power 4 times I to the power 4. Then it will be 1. Oh, all numbers here repeated after 4. Then it will be I, negative 1, negative I, and 1. But if you're going to simplify these notes, you will say I to the power 1 here. This is an odd number. 1 is odd number, odd power, and 3 is odd power. Then if I raised to odd power, then it will be I or negative I. But how to get any one of them? And I to the power 2, which is even, I to the power 2 will be negative 1 and 1, which is I power 4 here and 2 here. Then it will be 1 or negative 1. Then how to know these values directly? By shortcut, okay? Here, if you have even, this is 4 divisible by 4, then if the even number is divisible by 4, then the result must be equal 1. Like what? Like I to the power 4, I to the power 8, I to the power 12, I to the power 16, I to the power 24, I to the power 28, I to the power 32. What is this? These are the multiples of 4. Then any even power for I divisible by 4, then its result must be equal to 1. But any number not divisible by 4, like what? Like 2, it is even, okay? But not divisible by 4, like I power 2, all of these numbers here equal to 1. But I to the power 2, I to the power 6, I to the power equal I to the power 6, I to the power 10, I to the power 14, I to the power 18, and so on. All of them are even but not divisible by 4. Then it will be negative 1. But what about the odd number if it is as a power for I? First, you will subtract 1 from this power. Why? To change it to even. Then, like what here? Look, if you have I to the power 23, then subtract 1 from it, it will be I to the power 22. 22 is divisible by 4? No. Then if I is odd, subtract 1, okay? Then if you have a number divisible by 4, it will be I. But if it is not divisible by 4, it will be negative I. This is a shortcut to getting the value of I raised to any power directly without calculating. Here, 23 minus 1, 22. This is even not divisible by 4. Then this negative I. Another example, I to the power 27. Subtract 1, it will be 26. Okay, this is even not divisible. This is negative I. I to the power 39. Subtract 1, it will be 38. Not divisible by 4. Then it will be negative I. I to the power 43. Subtract 1. Then it will be 42. 42 divisible by 4. No, not divisible by 4. It will be negative 1. But here, if I write here I to the power 45, then this is odd. Subtract 1, it will be 44. 44 is divisible by 4, then it will be I. Then if you write here 97, subtract 1, this is odd. Subtract 1, it will be 96. 96 divisible by 4, yes, then it will be I, and so on. I think this is a shortcut to help you to get the I raised to any power. For examples, here, look for this question. Okay. Find each of the following in the simplest form. I to the power 16, its power is odd or even. Odd, then it will be 1 or negative 1. But 16 is divisible by 4, yes, then it will be 1. This is not 1. Here 42 is even, not divisible by 4, not, then it will be 1 over negative 1, it will be negative 1. Okay, here, then now I power 16 is 1, I power 42 is negative 1. Okay, for the here, for the odd power, subtract 1, it will be 62. Is 62 divisible by 4? I think no. Then it will be I or negative I. It will be negative I. Here 101, subtract 1, it will be 100. Divisible by 4? Yes, divisible by 4. Then it will be I. Okay, then this is a correct one. Here I to the power 4n. 4n divisible by 4, but 23 is odd number. Subtract 1, it will be 22. 22 is divisible by 4. No, it is not divisible by 4. Then it will be negative I. Then this is not correct. Okay. Another examples here to help you to get the value of any I raised to any power. Okay. Oh, we have here, we have an negative power, but 19 is odd or even. Odd. Subtract 1, it will be I to the power negative 20. 20 here is divisible by 4. Yes, then this number may be I or negative I. This number, the new number, is divisible by 4, then it will be I. Here 1 over I to the power 5. You know that I to the power 4 is equal to 1, but I power 4 is less than I to the power 5. Then maximize this number. It will be I power 8. Then here I power 8 over I to the power 5. It will be I to the power 3. And you know that I to the power 3 is what? Is negative I. Okay? I to the power 40 here, this is even, maybe 1 or negative 1, and 40 is divisible by 4, then this is 1. 35 odd, subtract 1, it will be 34. Not divisible, it will be I or negative I, not divisible, negative I. Here 21, 29, subtract 1, it will be 28. Oh, this is I or negative I, but 28 here is divisible by, it is I. Negative 23 minus 1, this is odd. It will be I or negative I. First, this is the main idea. Okay, I and negative I, it will be here what? It will be negative 24. This is divisible by 4, then it will be I. I think it's clear to you to use this shortcut to get the value of I raised to any power. Okay, next. You know that here we said that before a little bit of minutes. Square root of negative 3, it will be 3i squared. 3 times negative 1, and negative 1 is I squared, then it will be root 3i. Then negative here means root negative means I. Okay, then root negative 5, it will be root 5i. Root negative 7, it will be root 7i. Then this negative means imaginary. Okay, there is no reality value here. Square root of negative 16, it will be root 16i, and root 16 it will be 4i. Square root of negative 9, it will be root 9i, and root 9 is 3i. Okay, it is clear to you? Yes, I think that. Okay, how to know you have two complex numbers are equal? But what is the complex number? You can write any complex number in the form a plus bi. Measure real number and real number. A and b are real. But this is called a real part, and this is called imaginary part. And a and b are real. Okay? Then any number, any complex number, you can write it like what? Like 3 plus 2i, or negative 2i, or 5, or 7i. Any one of these numbers are called complex number. How to get the equality of two real numbers? If x plus yi is equal to another complex number a plus bi, now you have a real part. Okay, you have a real part like x here without I and a without I. Then by comparison of these real parts, then x is equal to a, and here y is equal to b, because this is the imaginary part here. Then if he give you if x plus yi is equal to 2a plus 3i, what is the value for x? It will be 2. And what is the value for y? It will be 3. What is the value for x plus y? It will be 5, and so on. Okay, it's clear. Go to the next here. If you have an equation x squared plus 16, how to solve it? Here x squared, it will be move this positive 16 to the other side, will be negative 16. Then x is equal to what? Positive or negative root negative 16. And we said now positive or negative root 16, it will be root 16i. And you know root 16, it will be what? 4i. Then the solution set is positive or negative 4i. This is in the complex number, not in the real number. Okay, the next one. Here, 2x squared, move 18 to the other side, it will be negative 18. Divide by 2, then x squared is equal to negative 9. Take the square root, but this is negative, take care. It will be positive or negative root negative 9. Then you will change it to real number. From reality to imaginary, it will be root 9i. Then it will be positive or negative 3i. Then x solution set is equal to positive or negative 3i. Okay, the last one, x squared plus x plus 1. I think you need to use what? Use the formula. The formula is x is equal to negative, x is equal to negative b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac divided 2a. Then it will be negative b. Where is a and b? A, the coefficient of x squared, 1. B, the coefficient of x is 1. C, the constant term is 1. All of them are 1, yes. Negative b, negative 1, plus or minus square root. B squared, it will be what? 1 squared, it will be 1. Minus 4 times a1 times c1. Oh, divided 2 times 1. Then it will be negative 1 plus or minus root 1 minus 4 times 1 times 1, it will be 4. Divided 2, it will be negative 1 plus or minus root negative 3. Oh, we have negative 3 under the square root. It will be negative 1 plus or minus, yes, it's good, root 3i over 2. Then the solution set is negative 1 plus or minus root 3i divided 2. Okay, is it clear? I think that. Okay, the next one, Here, how to solve the equation in complex number here. Sorry. Here, 5x squared. Move to this 180 to the other side and divide by 5. Then x squared is equal to negative 18 divided 5, it will be 3. 30, it will be 6. Then x, it will be positive or negative root negative 36. I think it's very easy. Positive or negative root 36i. This negative outside by I. Then it will be positive or negative 6i. This is x. Then the solution set is equal positive or negative 6i. But here you have a quadratic form. Then a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 2, c is equal to 5. We can find x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Complete your answer. Negative b by negative 2 here. It will be what, guys? Here it will be 2 plus or minus square root b square. It will be 4 minus 4 times 1 times 5, it will be 20. Divided 2 times 1, it will be 2. Then it will be 2 plus or minus 4 minus 20, it will be minus 16. So guys, here minus 16. This is negative imaginary. Then 2 plus or minus root 16, which is 4i. Why I? Because we have negative here. Divided 2. I think you can simplify this one. Then x2 divided 2, it will be 1. Plus or minus 4 divided 2, it will be 2i. Then the solution set, it will be 1 plus or minus 2i. But if you look for the solution in this equation, you will find one of them is 1 plus 2i and the other is 1 minus 2i. What is the difference between them? If you look for them, the imaginary part here is positive, but here is what is negative. Then we know that if you change the sign of the negative, if you change the sign of the imaginary part, you will get what? You will get the conjugate of the complex number. Then we must go to what? To know what is the conjugate of a number. Conjugate here. What does this mean by this word? Conjugate. If you have a plus bi, its conjugate is what? Change this part. It will be a minus bi. Okay? If you add them, this number plus this number, okay, look, this is negative and this positive. Then a plus bi plus a minus bi, it will be bi minus bi, it will be 0. Then it will be 2a. This is a real number. Then the number plus its conjugate must be real number. But if you multiply them, a plus bi, okay, times a minus bi, okay, multiply. FOIL here, first by first, a squared. First by second, negative abi. Second here, a plus abi. Third, plus by negative bi squared. Simplify here, a squared minus abi plus abi 0. But here, I squared, and I know this value, it will be negative 1 by negative, then we have positive b squared. Oh, then you will get this form, a plus bi times a minus bi, it will be a squared plus b squared. The number by its conjugate, it will be a squared plus b squared. For example, 3 plus 2i times 3 minus 2i, the number by its conjugate, then it will be 3 squared plus 2 squared. It will be 9 plus 4, it will be 13. Okay, 5 plus 5, 7i times 5 minus 7i. It will be 5 squared plus 7 squared. It will be 25 plus 49. Then it will be here 14 and 5 plus 2, it will be 7, and so on. Then if you negative 2i times 2i, then the number at its conjugate, then it will be 2 square, which is 4, or negative 2 times 2, it will be negative 4, I times I, it will be I square, and you know that negative 4 times negative 1, it will be positive 4. Then if you do the square for this number, you will get the answer. I'm so happy to meet you today. Thank you for following me in this video, and good luck. See you later, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.